Hi. So, this is the first video in my documentation series, I suppose. That's what I'm doing. Welcome to my channel. I don't know how you got here, but if you're here, hi. I'm doing this as a sort of self exploratory, self indulgent kind of thing. It's nothing really professional or intended to for community building or things like that. Really, this is just me needing to put my thoughts out into the world in some way, form, shape, or form. And i I thought that, or I felt that talking aloud really helped me put my thoughts into perspective and to hear myself say things that I'm thinking, but probably to give them a bit more of a turn. Rambling. This channel is about me rambling about books that I read or any topic that I might find tickles my brain at the moment. But for now, I'm just gonna start with books. So, as a first introductory video, I thought I would do like sort of what have I read so far and what's my personal challenge for the year. So my challenge that I've been doing since last year is the second year that I set myself a goal of 15 books, mainly because of how busy I am. So I give myself like a chill, doable challenge. If you see me looking here, I'm looking at my tablet. I have it, have everything panned out. And I did that last year. 2023 was an exception. I read over 30 books. I don't know how I did that, to be honest, but I think that I read a lot of short things. Then I can go through my readings of the last couple of years in other videos. But for now, I'm just documenting for 2025 as a start. So that would be my challenge, 15 books. I have read so far 9. That would be 60%. And apparently, I'm 3 books ahead of schedule. I use Goodreads. I know I shouldn't because of the people that are behind it, but I'm a creature of habit. I'm sorry. I have tried other things, but none of them have worked for me. So at the moment, I'm currently reading Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and I have a video coming up about that. I'm on the halfway point. Hopefully, I'll be able to finish reading by the end of the month. June, by the way. We are in June. And I have all of my thoughts in that video. Then I'm also reading very slowly. I think it's been already like a year since I started reading this. It's Wayward Girls and Wicked Women, which is a compilation of short stories by different authors, and the editor compiler is Angela Carter, who is one of my favorite authors. Then I will have a video about her, obviously, and I have all of her novels. That's how much I like her. So starting from the very beginning, the first thing that I read this year was Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. Then I read The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. Then I read 2 books by Charlaine Harris, Dead to the World and Dead as a Doornail, because last year I started rereading the Suki Stackhouse series, which I love. I'm that kind of girl. I watched True Blood when I was a teenager, and it really left me with a lot of feelings. Of course, it was during the time of Twilight. I was a vampire girly, so I'm all about that. And I'm enjoying myself very much. They are books that are easy to read, they're quick, they're short. And last year in Marketplace, I found somebody who was selling 6 of them, so almost half of the collection by very cheap. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna indulge in things that I wanted as a teenager that I can do now as an adult. So I saw no harm in doing that, and to be honest, it was a very good financial decision. Then I started reading the Apothecary Diaries light novels because I love the manga, and I'm very anxious and I need to know what happens. And so I read both mangas. I have watched season one. I didn't finish season two, but I'm a reader, so for me, watching sometimes is not so much a priority as reading. So I read volumes one to four fairly quickly because these things already happened. Like we've seen them in the manga and the anime, so it was very quick. And the last thing that I read, because I was going through sort of like a reading slump, was James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl. Sorry, the Apothecary Diaries is written by Natsu Hyuga. And yeah, last thing I read was James and the Giant Peach. To cut a little bit with my need, I mean, Rebecca is taking me a while because I started reading it at a particular point in which I couldn't really pay attention, and being 400, almost 500 pages, I do need to dedicate time to the reading, and I don't have that much time in one sitting to just read. So Gems on the Giant Peach was like less than a day of reading, and that was nice because I wanted to read something fairly quickly, and that really helped. So the other thing that I wanted to do for this video was to give like my general impressions of each of the books. Again, as a sort of the documentation technique. So starting with Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. This was an experience. I mean, I had seen people recommending it, and some people being conflicted about it because it's enemies to lovers, which is a trope that most of us like. We all enjoy, and it's not interracial. It's interspecies. She's a vampire. He's a werewolf. Yada yada. They hate each other. They marry for political reasons. You know how that goes. And enemies to lovers. What else can I say? Of course, they fall in love. And I remember that when I was reading it, I needed like romance, and supernatural romance really does it for me. I love anything supernatural. Like I mentioned earlier, in my teenage years, I was all about vampires and things like that. And one of my favorite series is True Blood. Penny Dreadful is another one. So for me, it's really enjoyable to read those kinds of things. So it gave me exactly what I needed. Of course, there's a smut because it's spicy. But I think it was the perfect combination between supernatural elements, political intrigue and complications, budding romance, and there was a lot of tender moments between the two main characters, which I appreciated. Right now, I don't remember specifically if I had any particular problems with anything in particular. This is just like a general. Uh, I'm doing like a general recap. Like I should reread or start taking notes. Uh, but I don't remember much. The only thing I know is that I read it in January. I don't give ratings, by the way, to the books. I don't like doing that. It's not part of what I do as a reader. But I really enjoyed it. I had my reservations because, again, enemies to lovers, and some people not being fan of this particular book because they had already read other Ali Hazelwood things. But I think this was my first one of hers, and I really enjoyed it. It hit the spot of me needing to read something that was light and hearty and fun, really. Um, then I read The Girl Who Drank the Moon. I had this in my to read list for, I don't know, way too long, to be honest. Um, I don't remember when I put it in my want to read, but like a lot. I read it also in January as soon as I finished reading Ali Hazelwood's. Is that a plane? Or thunder? Hopefully it doesn't rain. I have things to do. I can't really find any of my. Well, this is a very failed video. I'm sorry. I should have checked things better, but I had this book in my to read list for a very long time, and I really enjoyed it. It's very sweet. It reads like a fairy tale, and you have supernatural elements. You have a witch, You have a magical girl, you have a swamp monster, you have a dragon, you have a medieval sort of setting of a village that is fearful of the bog witch, and they sacrifice a child every year to the bog witch so that she will let them live in peace, let's say. And I liked the fact that it seemed very, again, childlike in nature, but there's several things that read more mature in um, the truth behind the child sacrifice, the witch, the elders, the sisters. Like, there's of course a religious element, and there's the religious dominance over this village and how it is isolated from the rest of the kingdom, I suppose. So it was a very interesting read. I chose it to for my B2 students. We're gonna read it during the second half of the year. So I'm excited about that. I want to see their reactions, especially because it's a group that needs something light and breezy compared to what we have been reading the last couple of years. So it's a very easy reading for perhaps beginners, I would say, or intermediate students, because again, it reads like a fairy tale. There's a lot of repetition, so it's fairly simple to read. There is the halfway point, which for me was a little bit difficult to get through. I remember that I got stuck for a couple of days trying to get through that. But then once you get through that, it really, you can fly through it pretty quickly. So it was a very good read. Dead to the World and Dead as a Doornail. I can't really remember what they are about. um, because the thing with the Suki Stackhouse is that each of the books is kind of self-contained. Of course, it's a saga, it's a series, and you need to know what happens in the previous ones to understand how the story progresses. But I think that To the World was Eric having amnesia and Suki taking care of him, which was very sweet, to be honest. It's a very good book. And Dead as a Doornail, I have like a vague memory of it. You see, these are my trashy reads that I read because I need to read and I enjoy them and I have fun reading. I do think that Suki is a very relatable character, and sometimes it pisses me off that the author painted her as a dumb blonde from a small town that is learning words from her Merriam-Webster or something like that. But at the same time, it's kind of endearing. It's like she's just a barmaid trying to navigate life surrounded by supernatural creatures, being in love, or people being in love with her and wanting to have sex with her, and it's fun. I mean, do not, of course, trigger warnings. There's been rape, there's been non-consensual things, and there's blood, and there's violence, and there's death, and things like that. So it's a mature series. There's also smart scenes, but if you enjoy romances that don't really work out, and steamy sex and hot characters, and you know, supernatural elements, werewolves, panthers, vampires, witches, fairies, all of them, you name them, they are there. I think you would enjoy this series. For me, again, it's something that I think impacted me when I was young because Twilight, and I was looking for similar things, and I found the series, and I think I was too young at the time to be reading it to fully enjoy it, but now as an adult, I'm like, yeah, this is right up my alley. I have a very peculiar sense of what I like and what I don't like. Sometimes people have tried to narrow me down to a specific genre or specific type of reading, and it's never like that. I like what I like, and that's why I'm pansexual. I make no sense. So, uh, you will see a lot of different things in my to read list, and you're gonna be like, is she okay? And I'm like, I think that for me it's more about the tropes, and then everything else is like optional. I do have my hard passes on things that I do not stand as a reader, but for the most part, I like to try everything, and then I decide if I like it or not. So then the Apothecary Diaries, I love Mao Mao. I think she's an amazing main character. I love my female characters being nonchalant, too smart for the average person. And I like that because uh, she's not necessarily cold, but she's detached and she's professional. And I like that about her. I can relate to her as a character. And I like the fact that there's mysteries that she's always solving through um, logic in a time in which there's no Google, there's no internet, there's nothing. They barely have encyclopedias, and that's only for the very wealthy. So she's just a girl who grew up being raised as an apothecary, as a doctor, also by her adoptive father. And I just like her. I like her a lot. And so when there's a very good main character that really catches me, I'm all about it. I like those kinds of female characters. Doesn't mean that I don't like characters like, for example, Toru Honda from Fruits Basket. She's very sweet. She's a little bit gullible and naive, but she's so bright and bubbly and hopeful. Like I do like my two polar opposites. So, but I like main characters mainly and mostly, and main characters like Mao Mao, who she's a girl boss and she knows exactly what she's doing, and she's so self-aware and conscious of the reality that she's living in, and how she should conduct herself, and how she should, she's so aware of the social rules. And I don't know, I like her very much. The one thing I'm not all about is the romance between her and Jinshi, but that's me. It feels like he's trying so hard for, like, I don't know how many volumes, because I'm only halfway through five. I forgot to mention that. I don't have it right now in my Goodreads. I'm not tracking it for some reason, but I'm reading volume five, which is that this is the volume that I have to read paying attention, because um, it's the one thing that is not from volume five onwards is not animated. It's not in the manga yet, so, or at least not escalated and translated. So I have to pay attention. And for me, when there's one-sided, unrequited love, even though she cares for him, it just feels so forced, and it pulls me out of this character's supposed to be cool. Why is he being such a simp over her? Not because she doesn't deserve people simping over her, but sometimes it just I don't like it. I know that later down the line things happen, and even then it's gonna be feel weird for me. But I suppose that it's the natural development of characters engaging in uh, being involved in certain things together, and having to solve things together and spending time, and that is the natural. I mean, sometimes when we read books, we're like, yeah, insta love, we want them to fall in love now, first sight, everything like that. And then when we find a slow burn, sometimes we feel weird about the slow burn. And I'm not used to reading such long series. I think the Apothecary Diaries is like 15 volumes. So that's gonna keep me busy for a few years, maybe, because I don't think I'm gonna finish reading the 15 by this year, unless when I finish Rebecca, I only read the Apothecary Diaries, and that could be the rest of my reading challenge. But there's some of the things that I want to read that are in my physical and digital TBR, which that will be another video in on itself. So I love the Apothecary Diaries. It keeps me hooked for a bit before I have to put it down, because I get a bit tired of following all that is happening. It's like reading Sherlock Holmes in a way. Um, but again, I don't have that much time to be reading, so it's usually before I go to bed or when I'm in the bus. The Apothecary Diaries, I'm reading digital, and Rebecca, I'm reading physical. So that also sometimes sort of conditions the moments in which I can read them, because I don't want to read from my phone because the screen is too small. And then I don't want to be reading from my tablet, because I don't want to be showing my tablet out to the world. So the Apothecary Diaries, it's going slowly, but it's going. And the last thing that I read fully is James and the Giant Peach. And what can I say about Roald Dahl? Even though he's a bit controversial, to say the least, um, I had bought physically James and the Giant Peach some months ago, I think. December, I think it was, I went on a book book buying spree because I was physically there and there were discounts and stuff. So I said, hell yeah. And when I was younger, I used to be scared of the movie. I would watch the trailer when I was with my VHS watching something else. And the bugs really scared me because of this claymation stop motion, I think. And then I don't know, in my 20s, I watched it and it's so wholesome. Like for me, it was such a sweet, tender movie that I said, I want to read the book. So the same happens with Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's in my TBR. I want to buy it to have it. I wouldn't read Matilda. I'm on the fence, but I do want to read more Roald Dahl, especially because it's friendly for teaching. So I have read short stories with some of my older, more advanced students. And James and the Giant Peach, I think it's a very good recommendation for beginners or slightly more advanced students, but I think it's very easy, friendly, quick to read. And also the visuals, the way in which some of the words are blown out in big font and for the dramatic effect. So it's a very sweet tale of a young boy who unfortunately loses his parents in an accident and he's adopted by his aunts and he's abused, much like Matilda, much like who else? Children in his stories are suffering one way or another. And so something happens and he ends up on a journey on a giant peach with some bugs from his backyard. And it's an adventure tale, it's a tale of sort of a way of overcoming adversity, and it's whimsical. Of course, there's magic, but I think it's a very sweet, quick, easy read for somebody who needs something light for the most part, because the first part is kind of sad, obviously, but it's a nice read. So I do recommend that. My projections, I need to read 6 more books to complete my 15. So Rebecca is well underway. I just need to power through it somehow while balancing my teaching job and my master's and everything else that I do. But I think I'll be able to finish her by the end of the month if I sit down religiously whenever I have free time to read. So that's going to be my book number 10. And then for my other 5 books, I don't know what I'm doing because it depends on my mood. It depends on how much I feel like I could read, um, and how much time I can devote to reading. Um, so it will all depend because I'm all the time watching people on YouTube recommending books, and I add them to my want to read, and my list is endless at this point. But I did buy Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I did buy Funny Story, I think it was, by Emily Henry, or Happy Place. I can't remember right now. I have them all physical in my bedroom, but my boyfriend is sleeping currently. So that would be, anyway, another video. I'm gonna bring my physical books that I have here that I want to read, and then I will get through my digital TBR, or we will go through my want to read list, which is kind of long, but for the moment, I do want to read all of the Apothecary Diaries. Obviously, I'm actually gonna change volume 5 to currently reading just so that I don't mess up my dates. I've already done that, but whatever. But yeah, I'm all about finding new things to read or old things to read, to be honest, because I like new and old. There's Anne Rice things that I want to read, like the whole of her vampire series would be great. All of Emily Henry I'm interested in reading. And then I would say I want to get more into gothic. I want to continue reading fantasy. Um, but it's a mishmash of a lot of things. But for now, this is what I've read this year, so 9 books and a half so far, which I think that it could be like a mid-year tag also, a bit of everything. But I was going to talk about how long it took me to read each of them, but I don't think that really matters, to be honest. Uh, The most important thing is that I liked all of them and I enjoyed the experience of reading them, and they felt like quick reads. And yeah, I would recommend all of them. Of course, they are not for everybody because most of them include very fantastical supernatural elements. Like the first four that I read, there's magic and there's supernatural creatures. Apothecary Diaries relies on real life things. There's no magic, there's no nothing of that. So it's a more realistic, historical kind of thing. And James and the Giant Peach, there's magic again. I like my whimsy. I like my I like my fantasy. But now I'm reading Rebecca, which is a drama, a period drama that, you know, keeps you a little bit on the edge of your seat because each chapter deals with something new in the life of a newly married couple and the ghost of his ex-wife. It's a very interesting read. Then you will see my video on it, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm trying to read more drama and I don't want to say weird, but more gothic, more like I read Picnic at Hanging Rock, and I like that a lot. I read The Haunting of Hill House, I read also, and I like that a lot as well. And again, mishmash of a lot of genres and things that for me are interesting and tickle my fancy. And you know, I read the review. Not I don't read reviews. I listen to people talk about them, or I try to find things that were bestsellers or very popular at the time or that people praise. Especially because I like to do not necessarily literary analysis. I wish I did more of that, but I like to read things that got me thinking. Sometimes, some other times I just want to read romance and kicking my feet, giggling and being happy and like silly or laughing about something. But anyway, then you will dissect my personal taste as you as these uh, videos come out. So anyway, I think I'm just gonna end it here. I've been talking for half an hour and I have things to do. Unfortunately, adulthood. So that would be again what I have read so far this year and my personal challenge for the year, and then my general overall impressions of each of the books that I've read so far. And I wouldn't do like a specific video for each of them unless I really wanted to talk about one or the other. I think that from all of the ones that I've read, Rebecca is the one that is really catching me at the moment, and that I have a lot of thoughts about because I can connect with the main character in a way that feels too personal, too close to home. So that's why I decided to make a video specifically about Rebecca because I have a lot of things going on when I read it. As for the rest, it was just fun and entertaining, and it didn't get me feeling too much in a way that made me think or reflect a lot about what I'm reading. So, those are like my two reading experiences: fun, light, breezy, quick, not thought inducing, really, more like feeling inducing, and the other one, yeah, thought inducing, basically. So I'll leave this here for now. I'll be uploading this first as my first video, and then I will be uploading my Rebecca one, which I already recorded the other day because I really needed to get my thoughts out there. But anyway, I will see you in my next one. Bye bye.